Hi team, Jen here. I am making this video today as part of my writing overview series, which is a video series that I've designed for students who are taking classes with me, either online or in person. This installment is called The Line of Inquiry. And in this video, I'd like to talk to you a bit about developing what I call a line of inquiry, which is a step-by-step process of building upon key moves of the academic genre in order to write an academic essay. Before you watch this video though, it'll be very helpful for you if you watched my video called What is the Academic Genre? That video will help you to grapple with the complexities of this very slippery genre. So I recommend watching that first, but you could just start here too, that's fine. So when I use the term line of inquiry with my students, I mean it in a very particular way and representing a key set of moves that I feel are most important when you're constructing the bones of an academic inquiry. Different instructors might have different value systems of what they feel are the key moves. So, and you might have your own as well, and that's totally fine. In this video, I'll try to explain what each key move means, and I also want you to be aware that every step that I mention in this video, or almost every step, I still have some videos to make, has its own video. So for example, if I mention this step of contextualization and you want to know more, you can go and see my video on contextualization. So this overview video is meant to be very general and very broad, but you have the specifics too at your fingertips if you go to my series and click on the appropriate link. So when you're sitting down to construct a paper, when I'm sitting down to construct a paper, I should only speak for myself here, I like to know that there are moves that are part of the genre, part of how the genre is understood, that I should be making in order to conform my writing. Now, you can, of course, go beyond the line of inquiry and include moves that you think are appropriate or relevant or reflect your own values, but I like to think that these moves are ones that are almost always included in the scope of this genre. Step one is close reading the text. So when you are writing an academic essay, it usually will center on 1 or 2 or 17 or 2,500 texts. What I mean by text is anything that you can read meaning into. So it could be a literal text, meaning a novel or an essay. It could also mean a movie or a song. It could mean close reading somebody's body. It could mean anything that you can find meaning in and kind of peel back the layers to analyze, right? So I have a video that takes you through 3 different kinds of close reading, but I feel like starting there, starting with how you're reading texts, right? What do these texts mean for you? What interesting, noteworthy things do you locate in the texts or texts that you're reading? So you want to make sure that you're honing in on your close reading, you're analyzing, and you're able to summarize as well to some extent what matters most to you about the texts that are on the table. That's step one, to have an understanding, to interact with, to engage with the primary texts that are at the heart of your inquiry. The second step along the line of inquiry is to feed your rhetorical sensibilities. So to develop your rhetorical awareness. Now, if you are in a rhetoric and composition class, or if you've taken a rhetoric and composition class before, my hope for you is that you're very dredged in the idea of the 3 appeals of rhetoric, ethos, pathos, and logos. If you need a brush up on those, or if you really don't know what they are, I do have a video on developing a rhetorical sensibility. But step 2 for me along the line of inquiry is to be very, very aware of how ethos, pathos, and logos are working for you across your line of inquiry. And for me, I like to always make sure that I'm having a balance of all 3 of those appeals in every paragraph. So if paragraphs represent the functional central ideas that piggyback on each other through your line of inquiry. You want to make sure that you are balancing out your approach. You're balancing out those three appeals, and that you're aware of what is an appropriate use of logos, for example, in the kind of inquiry that you have in mind. What is an appropriate approach to ethos and pathos in the approach that you have in mind? Something that's genuine for you. It's something that speaks clearly to your goals with writing this essay. What do you want to achieve, right? What is most important to your audience? Which brings me to the next step along the line of inquiry, which is having an awareness of your discourse community, having an awareness of the genre or the subgenre that you're writing in. So discourse community is the group of people that you've identified or that have been defined who would find the most interest in the kind of piece that you're writing. You want to always keep your discourse community in mind. You know, who are they? What are their needs? Where are they from? What do they want? What do they need? Trying to identify them as much as you can. Is your piece, for example, a piece that's going to be of most relevance for a community of Black women from the inner city who have been experiencing particular experiences in the education system, or whatever. So identify who your primary target audience is. Who's your discourse community? Why is that your discourse community? And how can you conform your writing to better meet their needs, their expectations, their experiences? The same is true with identifying your genre. So we know that you're writing in the academic genre, but if you watch my video on what is the academic genre, it's not as clear and cut and dry as that, right? There are lots of subgenres to every genre, and there are different forms and modalities and gestures of the academic genre. You want to try to identify the genre that you're trying to write in best. What subgenre, what style, what approach best fits your intentions when you write this essay. Okay. So the fourth step along the line of inquiry for me is contextualization. I am a nut for contextualization. I feel like context is the key to writing a piece that is publishable, writing a piece that's going to get you an A in the class, writing a piece that is unique and significant and interesting. If you haven't watched my video on context yet, please do. But contextualization is so important. Just really briefly, context is when you take a topic that's broad and you narrow it down to a nugget that nobody else on earth would write about. You're being super specific about what you're writing about, to the point that there's nobody else that could ever write about that, right? It's not general in any way. So contextualization is really something that makes your paper come alive for your discourse community. That's step 4. Step 5 is problematization. So once you have located a clear context, and again, you can watch my video if you're not clear about how I'm using context here. I'm using it in a very specific way. Once you have landed on your context, you want to pull out 1 or 2 or 7 threads from your context that are problematic. So you want to make an issue. You want to make, what is it called? Take beef, find beef in some aspects of that context. So you want to pull out problems. You want to look for problems. You want to scavenge for issues, things that have tension, things that seem problematic or off-putting, right? Within your context, within the boundaries of your context. Pull those out. That's a very important step along the line of inquiry, because one thing that the academic essay does, I think in all cases, is make an argument and be persuasive. So in order to make an argument, you have to have a problem to take a position on. If you don't have a problem to take a position on, right, there's nothing that you can argue. What happens is a lot of students end up writing what they think is an argument or a thesis statement that actually has no judgment at all. It's just a smart observation, right? So in order for an argument to be an argument, you have to make a judgment, which means you have to take a position. You have to say that at the end of the day, essentially something is good or bad or right or wrong. If you're not doing that at the heart of your inquiry, you're not making an argument, right? So in order to make an argument, there has to be a problem. So you have to pull problems out of your context. That's step 5. Step 6 is to make arguments about that problem, within that problem. So for me, the process of argumentation is 3-pronged. You have your judgment, which is your basis of argument, right? That's your position. That's your sheer, pure, 100% pure ethos, right? It's your value system. It's your belief system. I believe that this is right. I believe that this is wrong, and this is why. So you have your judgment. That's step 1. Step 2 is that you have your acknowledgement of counter-argument or the naysayer. What would a naysayer say to your argument, right? What's the opposite side of the coin? When you're developing your line of inquiry, you always want to acknowledge counter-argument, because not only does it increase your credibility by showing your readers that you're not living in a box and that you think your perspective is the only perspective that matters or has value, but it also shows that you're able to take down that counter argument, break it down, and show how your judgment trumps that. So you want to show that there is value in what the naysayer would say, but whatever points come at you from the counter perspective, they're really not going to change your mind, right? So you always want to acknowledge counter argument. I do have a video on the process of argumentation that does break this down for you a little bit more if you'd like to see that. The 3rd prong of the process of argumentation is stakes, noting the stakes of your argument. So your argument is your position, your judgment, and the stakes is the articulation of why your position matters, right? Why? What is the significance of your stakes? Why does it matter if we get on your bandwagon and agree? What will change? Who does it affect? What do we have to gain? What do we have to lose? So the process of argumentation should be thought of as a 3-stage process of judgment, counter-argument, and stakes. The next step along the line of inquiry is thinking about dialogic. Dialogic is when you think about what other voices are coming into this conversation. You're having a conversation with your reader about the context, but other people are having conversations about certain aspects of your context as well. So when you bring in source work, source integration, you want to make sure that you are doing this through quote sandwiching, of introducing your quote, introducing sources, and synthesizing them, integrating them in a way that makes sense by countering sources or forwarding sources, or doing really sophisticated things with sources. I'm currently working on my video for source integration. Who knows, by the time you watch this video, it might already be up, but it is coming. So there are certain moves that you can do to make sure that you're integrating dialogic sources well. You want to have a lot of that going on in your academic essay, unless your instructor is not asking for that, because I think that publishable academic essays or research essays that are supposed to be in the academic genre, they need you to show how what other people say either reinforce your own judgment or work against it and offer an alternative perspective. So how you integrate sources is so important, and it's definitely a step along the line of inquiry. The next step for me is textual synthesis. Now, sometimes you'll want to be a purist and you'll just focus on perhaps one primary text or 2 or 3. Other times you might want to bring in, Halo, the video game Halo, as an illustration to bring pathos in, paragraph 7 about some observation you're making about war or something. So you want to think about what other texts you can bring in to help you to make your point. Something that's colorful, something that's going to add some aspects from the 3 appeals, right? So how you synthesize those texts together is really an art form. I do not have a video on textual synthesis yet. It is coming, but it is a major step along the line of inquiry. Putting those texts into communication, marrying them together, melding them together, melting them together, that's really oh, it's an art form. I'm getting excited just talking about it. So textual synthesis is key. You should think about it. Think about how you're doing that, why you're doing that, how you could do that better, how it's functioning. Okay. And the final aspect for me right now along the line of inquiry, and you should know my line of inquiry it shifts sometimes. I just made this video to replace an old one, adding some more steps in there. So I think that our lines of inquiry should be evolving, and that's a good thing. But the final one for me right now is elements of composition. So that would be things like your drafting process, your editing process, your mechanics, your grammar, your MLA formatting or APA or Chicago or Harvard or whatever you're using, your style, your structure, your voice, your tone, your paragraph development, your sentence variety, all of those little things that amount to really big things in the composition process. For me, that's the last step. That's as meaningful, I think, as the others. But for me, it's always the thought that comes in when I'm going back to make the finishing touches. For me, that's not the preliminary. For you, it may be, and that's fine. These steps can come in any order. They can appear anywhere in the essay. They can be repeated. They can be revisited. They can be combined. They can be piggybacked on each other and used as a kind of scaffolding methodology. But for me, those are the key moves that make up what we call the academic essay. I would love to hear your thoughts about something that you think I'm missing, or something that you think needs to be reconsidered, or something that you think needs to be reordered, or anything. What are the key moves of academic writing for you, and why? I would love to hear that. I hope this quick introductory video has been helpful, and I'll see you next time.